Let me ask you something. Have you ever met a guy who just seemed too good to be true? He's charming, he's attentive, he looks you in the eyes when you talk, and you find yourself thinking, whoa, this feels different. Maybe says things like, I've never met someone like you before, or I can already tell you're special. And in that moment, it's flattering. You feel seen, desired, almost like you've known him forever, even though it's only been a few dates or maybe just one. But here's the dangerous part. Some men are very good at creating that illusion. They've practiced it. They know exactly which words, which gestures, and which situations will make you feel emotionally connected. Not because they're truly invested in you, but because they're invested in one outcome, getting you into bed. Now, let me be clear. There is nothing wrong with wanting intimacy. There's nothing wrong with enjoying chemistry. The problem is when someone manipulates your emotions to get what they want without caring about what you want. That's when you wake up the next day confused, questioning yourself, and maybe even feeling used. And I'll tell you something else. These tricks don't always look obvious in the moment. They can feel like genuine connection, like romance, like serendipity. That's why so many smart, confident women fall for them. So today, I want to hand you the playbook. I want to show you the 7 tricks some men use to get women into bed. Not so you live in fear or paranoia, but so you can see them clearly, call them out, and most importantly, stay in control of your choices, because knowledge isn't just power, it's protection. There's one trick that I think is both incredibly common and incredibly damaging, and that's the guy I call the future faker. You've probably met him before. He's the one who doesn't just focus on what's happening right now between you and him, but who instantly begins fast forwarding into this amazing life you're supposedly going to have together. He'll say things like, I can totally see us traveling to Europe one day. Or when you meet my mom, she's going to love you. He might tell you, I don't usually feel this way, but with you it's different. I can see something really serious here. And in the moment, it feels wonderful. It's flattering. You feel like he's not just attracted to you. He's invested in you. It feels like he's already seeing you as someone important, someone who matters in his future. But the problem is that most of the time, these words aren't grounded in action. They're not promises, they're performances. He's not actually making any real moves to create that future. He's just using the fantasy of it to create intimacy in the present. And here's why it works so well. Our brains don't always separate fantasy from reality. When someone talks about traveling with us, introducing us to family, building a life together, our mind starts to imagine those things. We picture ourselves in those moments. We feel the emotions as if they're already happening. And when you feel like you're already emotionally invested, it becomes so much easier to justify getting physically intimate. It feels like a natural step forward because your brain has already skipped ahead. The danger is that once he's gotten what he wanted, the dream begins to fade. Suddenly the talk about trips or meeting his family disappears. The compliments about how special you are become less frequent, and you're left confused, wondering if you did something wrong, when in reality, the future was never real in the first place. It was bait, a lure designed to make you open up more quickly than you would have if you'd only judged him by his actions. Here's the truth. A man who genuinely wants you in his future doesn't rush to tell you about it. He shows it over time. He's consistent. He doesn't just say, we should travel together. He brings it up again. He starts looking at dates. He follows through. He doesn't just say, you're special. I've never felt this way before. He proves it by showing up again and again, by investing in you even when it's not convenient, by making his effort match his words. So if you ever find yourself with a man who's already talking about forever, but hasn't even shown you who he really is today, pause and take a step back. Remember, words without action aren't love, they're strategy. And if his main goal is to get you into bed, then the dream he's selling you isn't your future. It's his shortcut. You deserve more than that. Another trick that's just as sneaky and honestly just as effective if you don't spot it early is the scarcity play. This is when a man deliberately positions himself as rare, as if his time, his attention, even his affection are limited resources that you'd be lucky to get. He'll do this in a few ways. Maybe he drops little comments about how busy and in demand he is, constantly reminding you of how packed his schedule is, how important his work is, how many people are trying to get his attention. Or maybe he takes it a step further and hints at competition. He'll mention the female coworker who flirts with him, or the ex who still calls him, or how women always seem to be hitting on him when he goes out. He may not say it directly, but the message he's planting in your mind is other people want me, so if you don't make a move, someone else will. Now, why does this work so well? It works because human beings are wired to want what feels scarce. If something is everywhere, we take it for granted. But if something seems hard to get, if it feels like it could slip through our fingers at any moment, suddenly we value it more. This man is tapping into that psychology, whether he knows it consciously or not. By making you feel like his attention is rare, he creates pressure. You feel like, if I don't act fast, I could lose him. And in dating, that pressure often makes women rush into things they wouldn't normally do, whether that's moving too quickly emotionally or physically. The problem with scarcity is that it creates urgency where there doesn't need to be any. Real connection doesn't need to be sped up. If a man genuinely likes you, he doesn't want you to feel like you're in competition with some invisible line of women waiting to take your place. He doesn't make you feel like his affection is a prize you need to earn. Instead, he makes you feel secure in knowing that his interest in you is clear, consistent, and not going anywhere. That's the difference between someone who's playing the scarcity trick and someone who's actually serious about building something with you. Here's how you can spot it. If every interaction with a guy leaves you feeling rushed, panicked, or like you're not enough unless you prove yourself to him, that's not connection, that's manipulation. Love doesn't grow out of scarcity, it grows out of abundance. The right man isn't going to force you to scramble for his time or prove you're better than every other woman in his orbit. He's going to make you feel chosen, not pressured. And if a man's whole strategy is to create scarcity just to get you into bed, he's not showing you your value, he's showing you his lack of it. Another trick some men use, and this one is as old as dating itself, is what I call the alcohol shortcut. You've probably seen it play out 100 times in movies and unfortunately in real life too. The guy says something like, "Hey, let's grab just one drink after work," or "Why don't we stop for a nightcap at my place?" On the surface, it sounds innocent enough. Who doesn't enjoy a cocktail or a glass of wine with someone they're attracted to? But underneath, the strategy is clear. Alcohol lowers inhibitions, dulls your judgment, and makes it a lot easier for him to speed things up physically. Now, I want to be careful here because I'm not saying that every time a man invites you out for a drink, he's trying to manipulate you. Plenty of people genuinely enjoy sharing a drink together, but the trick becomes obvious when alcohol is his main move. When the focus isn't on spending time with you, getting to know you, or creating a connection, it's on putting you in a situation where your decision making is impaired and the boundaries you'd normally hold firm on start to blur. Think about it. When you're stone cold sober, it's easier to notice red flags. You're sharper, you're more likely to say, "You know what, I'm not ready for that yet." But after a few glasses of wine, after the cozy atmosphere of being alone at his apartment just for one drink, it becomes easier to go along with things you might not have chosen in the clear light of day. That's why this trick works. Not because you're weak or foolish, but because alcohol literally changes the way your brain processes decisions. The really dangerous part about this move is that it can leave women feeling guilty afterward. You wake up thinking, was that really my choice? Did I actually want that? Or was it just the wine talking? And that confusion is exactly why this trick is so manipulative. A man who respects you will never need to rely on substances to create intimacy. He'll want you fully present, fully aware, and fully able to say yes or no with clarity. So here's the mindset shift I want you to carry with you. If a man's version of bonding always seems to involve drinking, if he's constantly suggesting alcohol as the way to spend time together, that's a red flag. Because someone who genuinely wants to connect with you is going to be just as interested in grabbing coffee, going for a walk, or spending time together sober. If alcohol feels like a shortcut he keeps reaching for, you can be almost certain it's because he's trying to bypass the slower, more meaningful path of real connection. And the truth is, a man who uses shortcuts isn't looking for a relationship. He's looking for access, another trick men use. And this one can feel so flattering in the moment that it's hard to notice, is the over-compliment strategy. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone loves a compliment. If a man tells you that you look beautiful tonight or that he admires something about you, that can feel amazing. But there's a big difference between a man who genuinely notices you and appreciates you and a man who uses flattery as a tool to get something from you. The over-complimenter isn't complimenting to connect, he's complimenting to disarm. Here's how it works. He showers you with praise about your beauty, your body, the way you move, even the sound of your voice. He'll say things like, "God, you're so sexy. You're literally the most attractive woman I've ever met." Or, "I can't believe you're single. You're like every man's dream." Now in the moment, that can feel intoxicating. We all want to feel desired. And when someone reflects back this constant stream of admiration, it's easy to get swept up in it. But the trick here is that his compliments aren't balanced. He's not saying, "I love how passionate you are about your career," or "I really admire how you care for your friends." His compliments are almost always focused on your physical appearance and your sexuality. And when you're hearing that over and over, it starts to create a loop where you crave more of that validation. And once you're hooked on his compliments, you may find yourself more likely to reciprocate physically, because it feels like the natural way to respond to that kind of desire. But here's the truth: genuine compliments don't pressure you. They make you feel seen, not pushed. The over-compliment trick is different because it's designed to accelerate intimacy by making you feel like you're already in a sexual space together. It's not about you, it's about fast tracking him toward what he wants. Other danger with this trick is that it can create confusion. You start to believe, sees me as the most beautiful, most irresistible woman. That must mean he really values me. But value isn't measured by how much someone praises you in the first week of knowing you. It's measured by whether they back up those words with consistency, respect, and real investment over time. So when a man is laying it on too thick, take a step back and ask yourself, are these compliments specific, meaningful, and balanced? Or are they generic, sexual, and constant? Because one shows real interest and the other shows a strategy. Remember, a man who truly values you will compliment not just your beauty, but your mind, your heart, and the way you make him feel. Flattery is cheap. Real admiration is priceless. Another trick that can be surprisingly effective, and honestly a little creepy once you recognize it, is when a man convinces you that the two of you are practically twins. He mirrors your personality, he likes your quirks almost too perfectly. You tell him you love a certain kind of music, and suddenly he says, "Oh my God, me too. That's literally my favorite band." You say you've always dreamed of visiting a certain city, and he responds, "No way, I've been wanting to go there forever. Maybe we should go together." You mention how you don't like games in dating, and instantly he agrees, saying, "I can't stand people who play games. I'm all about honesty." Now, in the moment, it feels magical. It feels like you've finally met someone who gets you, and that feeling of being understood and seen is powerful because real compatibility is rare. And when you think you've found it, your walls come down. You think, wow, I don't need to explain myself to this guy. He already understands me. Maybe we're meant to be. But what's really happening here is not genuine similarity, it's performance. He's mirroring you because he knows that the fastest way to build intimacy is to create the illusion of sameness. The more you think we're so alike, the faster you trust him, and the quicker you feel safe being vulnerable or physical. The danger with this trick is that it can be hard to spot in the moment. After all, who doesn't want a partner with shared interests and values? The key difference is this real compatibility is revealed slowly. You learn it over time through experiences, through disagreements, through moments where you don't see eye to eye but still respect each other. The guy who uses the "we're so alike" trick doesn't want to wait for that process. He wants to create artificial closeness as quickly as possible, so he mirrors whatever you put out. What usually happens later is that the cracks start to show. Maybe he says he's into travel, but he never actually books trips. Maybe he agrees with your values, but his actions don't line up. Maybe he says he loves the same hobbies, but never shows genuine passion for them. And that's when you realize that, or me too, guy was never about alignment, it was about acceleration. So here's what to look for if someone seems a little too perfect. If every single thing you say is mirrored right back, pause. Compatibility isn't about being identical, it's about being real. And a man who's serious about you won't be afraid to show his differences because he knows those don't scare away the right person. If all you're hearing is, "Me too, me too, me too," don't mistake it for destiny. It's just strategy, another trick men use. And this one can be especially uncomfortable, is what I call the pressure of the moment. This is when a guy tries to create a situation that feels so intense, so emotionally charged, that it almost feels easier to just go along with it than to slow things down. Imagine you're at his place late at night. The lights are low, music is playing. He's sitting close, his hand brushes yours, then your arm, then your waist. He leans in, whispers something like, "You feel this too, right? You want this as much as I do." On the surface, it sounds romantic, passionate even, but underneath, what's really happening is subtle pressure. This trick works because he frames the moment as something inevitable. He's not asking, he's assuming. And when someone assumes, it can make you second guess yourself. You think, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I should just go with it. Add in the fact that many women are taught to avoid disappointing people or making situations awkward. And suddenly you're in a position where saying no feels harder than just saying yes. That's exactly what this man is banking on. He doesn't want a real yes. He wants the path of least resistance. The problem with this trick is that it robs you of true choice. When intimacy happens under pressure, even if it looks consensual on the surface, it often leaves you feeling uneasy afterward. You replay the moment in your head wondering, did I actually want that? Or did I just give in because the energy was so strong? That's not romance, that's manipulation. Here's the truth: intimacy should never feel rushed or forced. The right man doesn't need to corner you in a moment to get what he wants. He's patient enough to let things unfold naturally because he knows real connection isn't fragile. If you say you want to wait, he respects it. If you say no, he doesn't sulk, he doesn't guilt trip you, he doesn't lean harder, he backs off, because your comfort matters more to him than his own agenda. So how do you spot the pressure of the moment? It often shows up as urgency. He says things like, come on, just this once, or don't overthink it, let's just go with the flow. He may act hurt if you pull back, or suggest that by not moving forward, you're somehow rejecting him entirely. These are all designed to box you in emotionally. But remember, your boundaries are not negotiable just because the lights are low and the chemistry feels high. A truly confident man doesn't need to rely on the heat of the moment to create closeness. He builds connection in the daylight, in conversation, in trust, in the everyday choices that show he values you. If you ever feel like you're being swept into something just because it feels too awkward to stop, that's not passion, that's pressure. And the right man won't need to pressure you, because he'll know that when you're ready, your yes will mean so much more. The last trick I want to talk about is one of the sneakiest, because it doesn't come across as a trick at all. It comes across as vulnerability. I call it the emotional rescue play. This is when a man opens up to you very quickly, sharing stories of heartbreak, pain, or loneliness in a way that makes you feel like you're the only person who really understands him. He might tell you about the girlfriend who betrayed him, the childhood wounds he's never healed from, or how hard it is for him to find someone who truly gets him. Suddenly, you're not just a woman he's dating, you're his confidante, his safe space, the one who can heal him. And here's why this trick works so well. Women are natural nurturers. When someone shows us their wounds, we instinctively want to comfort them, to protect them, to help them feel whole again. That impulse is beautiful, but it's also exploitable. When a man plays the vulnerable card too soon, he accelerates the intimacy between you. You feel bonded to him because you think you've seen the real him, the part nobody else gets to see. And once that emotional door feels open, it can be a very short step to physical intimacy, not because you're being manipulated in a harsh or obvious way, but because closeness naturally leads to closeness. The problem here is that often his vulnerability isn't real, it's selective. It's not about letting you into his life, it's about creating the illusion of depth so that you let your guard down. And the proof comes later, when you realize that the man who cried about his heartbreak or poured out his soul to you suddenly disappears or becomes distant or shows you no actual consistency. That's when you realize the emotional connection wasn't a foundation, it was a tactic. A genuine man doesn't weaponize his pain. Yes, he'll share his struggles with you over time, but he'll do it because he wants to let you in, not because he wants to speed up how close you feel. He won't use vulnerability as a shortcut to your heart or your body. He'll let intimacy grow naturally at your pace, not at the pace that serves his desires. So how do you tell the difference? Timing is everything. If a man is pouring his heart out on the first or second date, if he's immediately putting you in the role of therapist or savior, that's a red flag. Real vulnerability unfolds gradually as trust is built, as actions prove consistency. When it feels like someone is dumping all their pain on you before they've even shown up for you in real ways, it's not intimacy, it's strategy. And remember this, you are not responsible for saving anyone. The right relationship is two whole people choosing each other, not one broken person using another as a bandage. A man who truly values you won't make you his rescue mission. He'll make you his partner. So we've just walked through 7 of the most common tricks some men use to get women into bed. And if you were paying attention, you probably noticed a pattern. Each of these tricks is designed to bypass genuine connection and instead fast track you into giving more than you're ready to give. Whether it's the charm offensive, the flattery overload, the scarcity game, the false promises, the alcohol assist, the status flaunt, or even the emotional rescue play, the strategy is always the same: to create an illusion of closeness, an illusion of urgency, an illusion of safety. And here's the most important thing I want you to take away from this. When you learn to recognize these tricks, they lose their power over you. You stop mistaking pressure for passion. You stop mistaking attention for affection. And you stop mistaking chemistry for compatibility. Because true connection, the kind of connection that leads to love, respect, and a lasting relationship, never comes from tricks. It comes from consistency, honesty, and actions that align with words. Now, let me ask you this. How many times in your life have you found yourself saying, "But he seemed so different in the beginning"? That's because in the beginning, he was showing you the version of himself that he wanted you to see. Tricks are always about the beginning, but character is revealed over time, which means your greatest power in dating isn't how good you are at spotting every manipulation in real time. It's your willingness to slow down, to give yourself the space to observe, and to see if a man's actions over weeks and months actually line up with the story he's trying to sell you on day one. You deserve more than to be a conquest. You deserve to be a choice. And the right man won't make you guess, won't rush you, and won't play games to get you where he wants you. He'll want you because of who you are, not because of how easily he can trick you into giving him something. So here's my challenge for you: the next time you notice a man laying it on too thick, rushing intimacy, or dangling himself like a prize, pause, ask yourself, is this connection real, or is this just a performance? That little pause could save you from a lot of heartbreak and wasted time. And if this video opened your eyes, don't just leave it here. Hit that like button so more women can get this message. Subscribe if you haven't already, and drop me a comment below telling me which of these 7 tricks you've seen in action before. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear today. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to become cynical about men. It's to become empowered. Empowered to see clearly, empowered to choose wisely, and empowered to only give your heart and your body to someone who's truly earned it. You're worth that. Never forget it.